Hi, everyone. It is me again, and I wanted to bring you, as always, a very special young lady to our group to give you a little motivation, and she will definitely motivate you. She's got an awesome story to tell. She is living and thriving abroad, and without further ado, Miss Nicole Brewer. Welcome, Nicole. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me for a little bit. Um, First of all, I wanted to say thank you so much, and it's inspiring to me to see and to meet women like yourself. You know, I tell this story a lot, but 13 years ago, I left the US to move abroad, and there were very few uh, Black women at the time, you know, even considering doing it. Believe it or not, I was one of the few people. There were a lot, but not like today. We see so
Yes.
many women, and they have such incredible stories. So I'm always excited to be able to share other stories and let women know that, wow, you know, maybe I'm not so unique after all. So, Nicole, welcome. And so you're living in the Middle East
Yes.
in a Muslim country, which is very interesting. What is it like? How did you get to Oman?
Thank you for having me. It's definitely different living in the Middle East. It's funny because, like you said, you first left the country 13 years ago, and to me, it's kind of mind-boggling that it's been actually 10 years now for me. It's been a decade since I've been out of the U.S. And initially, when I left the U.S. to teach abroad, I went to South Korea. Um, and I was working in primary school for a couple of years, and then I went to high school. And my last year, after living in South Korea for 3.5 years, I was kind of antsy. I was looking for a change, something different, and I started looking up opportunities to work in the Middle East. Initially, of course, I had Dubai, UAE in my mind because when I think of the Middle East, that was the first thing that came to mind. I knew a lot of people experienced in that region. And so when I started researching and looking up opportunities, of course, Dubai was like top of my list. But then I found like a couple opportunities in Oman working at a small college here. And truth be told, a decade ago, I didn't even know where Oman was. I literally had to look it up on a map, and I was like, "Oh, it's next. It's right next door to UAE. Okay, it's not Dubai, but it's still that region. It's still Middle Eastern culture, and it'll still be a different experience." And then the more I did research on Oman, I was like, "Oh, it's a very beautiful country." So, I hadn't visited here prior to accepting the offer. And I'm so grateful that I decided to just like put fear to the window and go for it because now it's been almost 7 years, which is crazy to me, that I've been in this region, loving, living in the Middle East. And people are really surprised, like, oh, you're a single, African American woman living in the Middle East, and you're not Muslim. How do they treat you? This thing. And I'm like, they respect me. I respect the culture. I do what I have to do. I'm very respectful of living here. I cover when I have to cover when I go out different places. And I definitely feel respected. Like on my knees when they see me, they're like, "Oh, hello, sister." They always call me sister. It's always so beautiful. It's like, "Oh, yes, we are brothers and sisters," right? So it's like I feel comfortable here. Like they respect me, I respect them. It's a beautiful culture, beautiful people. So I'm very grateful that I decided to just put caution to the wind. And of course, I did my research first, but to try something new, and it paid off in the end.
That is awesome. And of course, it's a kosher society, right? I mean, pretty much they are all halal, the food.
Yes, yes. Yeah, no pork here. I mean, well, you can find it at certain specialty grocery stores, like hidden behind black curtains, and you gotta have like, you gotta prove that you're not Muslim to go in there. But you can't find it, but there's no pork sold at the average place unless you go to one of those specialty markets. As an expat, as an American, as an expat, I can buy alcohol. Again, you either got to have an alcohol license to buy alcohol at the particular shops, or just the fact that I'm American. If I go to like one of the hotel restaurants, I can order it because I'm not Muslim. I can prove that. So, you can find pretty much everything that you need here. But for me, it's like I gave up. I don't eat red meat in general, so it's kind of easy for it was an easy transition for me to come here and not find those things because I really don't miss it. But yeah, it's been good. I mean, it's really not. It wasn't too difficult of a change for me, truth be told. But I
I
know it's not
wanted
for everyone.
I wanted to ask you something that I ask a lot of women that I chat with. What made you decide to live abroad? What was the thing that kind of clicked when you made that decision?
Good question. I know for me, in my case, I was always like, I love travel and I was always interested in possibly moving abroad at some point. But I can't, what really pushed me was, truth be told, it's been over a decade ago. So I remember I was laid off from my job. I was working in market research and times got tough. And I had went about it was going on, I remember exactly, it was going on, I was almost 6 months. And I was looking for work. And this is the first time I've ever gone without employment after graduating from undergrad. And I'm like, okay, 6 months. If it hits 6 months, my unemployment's going to run out. So like I was getting desperate. Like I got so frustrated with the job market then. You know, that was like the last recession that we had a decade ago. It was around that time, and I was like, I will leave the country. I'll do what I have to do to find a job. And you know, for me, it really it wasn't that difficult of a choice because I was always intrigued with possibly moving abroad. The year prior, I actually had three girlfriends that were teaching in Japan. And knowing that they were teaching in Japan before I decided to leave, um, I had actually, me and one of my girlfriends, I went to visit them. And I remember just thinking, like, this is such a cool lifestyle. Like, I can totally see myself doing this. So, you know, fast forward a year later, and when I just was looking for a job and I saw opportunities in South Korea. Well, actually, I was applying. I looked at Japan and South Korea, but I chose South Korea. But I was like, oh, I'll do it. I'll go for a year, maybe, you know, save up some money, come back home. And that was initially the plan. I'll leave for a year. And then I fell in love with the lifestyle and I kept renewing my contract. And here I am a decade later, still going. But yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So this is kind of a really important conversation because a lot of women are going to be in the same pivotal type of a situation with, once we come out of this thing that's been going on, it'll be the same type of scenario. I'm out of work, I'm on unemployment, my unemployment's running out. Um, do, what, in your opinion, of course, do you feel that it's feasible? Do you feel that it's doable? For example, all right, my unemployment check's going out in August and I have no job prospects. Should I pick up my small belongings, single woman, no children? Or even if I have children, I mean, what advice would you give someone in the situation, which there will be many in that situation right now?
Absolutely. No, that's a really good question. I know for me, um, you know, the fact I think the biggest thing is doing your research and not just making like a spur of the moment decision. Like even though I knew the countdown was coming, in the back of my mind, I was like I was intrigued. Like I thought I would be willing to leave the country. Like it wasn't like, 2 days before my unemployment was going to run out. Like I had made the decision a couple months prior. Like if it comes to this, like I had already started applying, and if something more feasible didn't come, then I will make this move. I know in my case, it wasn't an easy decision because, like you said, I was living in Chicago before I decided to move abroad. I had a condo, I was all ambitious, like in my late 20s. I already bought a property and things of that nature, and it was a scary, you know, thought to like sublet my place and go on the other side of the world. It took a lot of it took a lot of prayer and crunching of ideas to decide to do it. But I think the fact that I had such a broad network of people, like my friends that were in Japan, and they put me in contact with people in South Korea, and then there was groups on, like groups on Facebook that I remember reaching out to. There was like the brothers and sisters in South Korea. I reached out and asked questions. So I was, I used to work in market research. I was very big on like, let me get, answers on the ground from people before I make this choice. Make sure, how are they doing it? Are they comfortable there? So I was very big on researching before I just decided to make the jump, the leap. In my case, with moving to South Korea was a good choice in the beginning because they pay for your flight, you know. So it's like, even though I didn't have a ton of money, you know, disposable cash saved up, I knew that my flight was going to be taken care of. I knew that my accommodation was going to be taken care of. You know, all I needed was money you know, for clothing and to eat, you know, until I get my first paycheck. So I knew, you know, from talking to people and getting advice from others, how the scenario was to go. So I would definitely say, like, you know, by month four, three or four, if you're unemployed for a few months, start applying and just start making those moves because it does take some time to get the paperwork, you know, in, and you have to have certain things apostilled and different documents they have to check and make sure that your university degree is like official. So it does take some time to get those things done. So you do have to start preparing for that just in case you decide to move forward with it. So
And another very important question that many women ask, what about the job prospects in the Middle East in general? I mean, I know specific to Oman, but in general, can you elaborate on that? What are, now, obviously you would need a 4-year degree. Is it possible to get work without a 4-year degree?
Uh, you know, I want to be honest. In the Middle East, is very competitive because the pay is pretty good here.
Okay.
Like in Oman, I will be honest. In Oman, I don't. My pay isn't at the level as if I was working in like Saudi Arabia or UAE. But in my opinion, I feel like that's almost hazard pay because it's like Oman is so like kind of an easier life to jump into. So it's like the pay isn't as high as other parts in the Middle East. So like I was saying before, when I was applying and looking at Dubai, like I knew it was very competitive. And that was part of the reason I chose Oman. But in my case, one of the good things was I had experience in South Korea prior. So those 3.5, almost 4 years of work experience in South Korea really helped me to get the job here in Oman. Like, I think you definitely need at least a 4-year degree to apply for opportunities in this region. And even in South Korea, like, I'm pretty sure that most places need a 4-year degree. Maybe some places in China, they may be willing if you only have like an associate's, but more often than not, they want you to at least have a 4-year degree. And now there's something called like a TESOL, like a TESOL or a TEFL, a teaching English as a foreign language certificate, or teaching English as a second language to online learners. So one of those particular certificates they look for now is it's gotten a bit more competitive from when I first started a decade ago. When I first went to South Korea, all I had was my 4-year degree. Now, from talking to people and doing the research for my book about teaching abroad, I know now that they want you to at least have one of those two certificates in addition to your 4-year degree. So that's something to consider. Like in my case, I actually didn't get my certificate until I was already in South Korea.
Okay, just two other quick questions. What about social life? Oman seems to be a very Muslim country, and what about the social scene there for single women? What's it like? What can I expect?
Yeah, times can be hard as a single woman in the Middle East. You know, dating, it definitely happens. Like I do have someone that I'm talking to. And in my case, like, you know, he's African. Like there is an expat community here. I don't advise trying to date a local. Like it's just really not advisable. I know I've done it my first year, and I was like, oh, I'll never do that again. So, you know, they call it haram. You know, it's not something you're supposed to do, but sometimes they're intrigued with African American women. But I would say for me, I live in a small town, Nizwa. It's about an hour and a half outside of Muscat, the capital. So there's not a lot to do in Nizwa other than like with the other expats. Like I'm grateful that in my town there's 2 colleges and 1 university. And so and then you have engineers and different, you know, the oil and gas companies. Like you will find other expats here, so you can, you know, try to get together and mingle in that capacity. But most of the time we go to Muscat for socializing. Like I don't know if people are familiar with LinkedIn. It's a very good social network, and that's actually how I met the current guy I'm talking to. We met at an event that was hosted by the LinkedIn social networking group. So there are opportunities to get out. You know, they have clubs. They do have social scene. But like I said, in my small town, it doesn't really happen like on the weekend. But now with um, Corona, there's no going. You know, there's no socializing at all. But even before everything shut down, Muscat has been closed off for over a month now. Like they've locked down the cities. So there's like been no socializing in that capacity with everything that's happening now. But on an average, you can find events and things like they have Caribbean events and they have different like social groups that you can find events to go to in Muscat. So that helps.
Tell us about your book.
Oh, my book, since I've been gone for a decade, and I'm a travel blogger as well. My website, I love the Glow Trap. I would get a lot of inbox questions on Facebook and on even via my blog about teaching abroad. So I had did a blog post a few years ago about getting into teaching English abroad, and I remember a lot of people commented. They was like, "Oh, this is a great start, but I would really love more information." So I said, "Okay, I'll write a book." So it started as a blog post, and then I decided to put some time into it and do the research. And based on my experience of teaching in South Korea, now in the Middle East, and how I transitioned, educating people about being able to get a TEFL, what TEFL programs are out there, what are good ones, what are bad ones. And then I interviewed other teachers that were teaching abroad. So, I thought it was a good opportunity to get the information out there and do the research and just put it all in one place collectively for people. So as I mentioned before, my book is called A Guide to Landing an English Teaching Job Abroad, and it's available on Amazon as an ebook or a hard copy book. So yeah, I'm very grateful that I decided to do that because my goal of being a blogger and teaching abroad, I always wanted to inspire others to get into this lifestyle because it's definitely changed my life for the better. So
Oh, well, Nicole, thank you so much. I can add you to my list of women that have inspired me also just to hear your story. All the stories are fascinating, but I'm just adding one more to the collection. Thank you so much. Hopefully, you can spread some motivation around for folks that are going through, or us women especially, that are going through a very difficult and will be going through a difficult time. And they will know that, there's always a possibility. Just have faith, put your little ducks in a row, and anything is possible. Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed talking with you, and we'll have to chat again once this is all over with.
Thank you so much. Exactly.
And good
Make it
luck with your book.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.